Dear viewers, welcome to the Brockton School Committee. Today is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025, 7 p.m. at the Dr. William Theater. Welcome to the meeting of the Brockton School Committee. This is the agenda that will be discussed this evening. Please note that hearing of visitors is included. If you have a statement or question, please give them to the secretary, which we have for individuals. In addition to this meeting, the public can view this via television, Comcast Channel 8, Channel 8 and 1071 HD version, and online via this link, www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. And I will now call this meeting to order by establishing a quorum. Ms. Oliver?
Here.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yeah.
Mr. Gomes?
Here.
Mr. Vega?
Here.
Ms. Azak?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
And Dr. Tiliani, the superintendent, is present, myself as the vice chair. And now if we can all please stand and salute the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Two, hearing of visit. Pursuant to the school committee policy, each person requesting to speak shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Since this is a period limited to 15 minutes, a total of 5 people shall be permitted to speak on a first-come, first-served basis. The first individual is Mr. Joe Campbell. If you could please take the podium, introduce yourself, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joe Campbell. I'm the president for the IBAA-TEA. The IBAA-TEA is strongly opposed to any life given to item number 6.1, HR Office Restructuring Discussion and Vote, and item number 6.3, HR Generalist Discussion and Vote during tonight's school committee meeting agenda, as both items would have a detrimental impact on the Brockton Public Schools. Point 3, the HR Generalist Discussion directly and negatively impacts the association by potentially proposing an unlawful transfer of our bargaining unit work from the 6 union administrative assistant positions in the department and reassigning our work to 4 non-union generalist positions. If what we know the proposal to be is discussed and approved, it would constitute a violation of the Public Employee Collective Bargaining Law, Chapter 150E. Staffing of the BPS HR department encompasses 6 budgeted administrative assistants led by the Assistant Superintendent for HR and 4 associate directors, each of whom is assigned to handle specific bargaining units within BPS. These staffing numbers are minimal at best to support the monumental size of the district, including augmenting the City of Brockton's HR department when called upon, and has facilitated the resolution of the vast majority of personnel and other contract matters that have arisen in my time as president. In fact, having been president of the association since 2019, there hasn't been a single grievance that has gone to arbitration. And we have not had to file a single unfair labor practice. I attribute this directly to the proper staffing levels in the HR department, with the access to the Assistant Superintendent for HR, Dr. Moran, and our own dedicated Associate Director, HR, Mr. Matt Beals. The current 5 members in the HR office have 53 combined years of experience and service working in BPS. If the committee entertains any approval of point 3's proposal, you risk losing all of that experience, which will be difficult to replace. Sure, if the members were to stay in the HR as an HR generalist, they will receive a broomstick salary increase. However, they will be asked to perform the same amount of work that 6 members performed with less staff. This simply is not realistic or judicious. Since our members were informed about this proposal in February, their lives have been turned upside down. At this point, we ask why. Why now? Why a department that is already at its lowest possible staffing levels? This simply deserves better. Most importantly, why was a well-rounded solution completely rejected? 28 years of a symbiotic relationship between the organization and Brockton Public Schools, 12 ratified contracts. In closing, on behalf of the directly impacted members of the association as a whole, we are respectfully urging the school committee to reject and pass over any of the proposals and discussions involving the Human Resources Department that will be brought before you tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Next, we have Sophia, excuse me if I pronounce your last name, Wera, and Elena Kelabon.
Good evening, my name is Eliana Cabellin and I am a junior at Brockton High School.
Hi, I'm Sophia Wera and I'm a senior.
We are excited to invite you to the Brockton High School Drama Club's performance of Bye Bye Birdie. With infectious energy, hilarious twists, and a dash of 1950s nostalgia, the show hits all the right notes from the quirky chaos of The Telephone Hour to the heartfelt longing in Put on a Happy Face. Whether you're a rock and roll rebel or a musical theater maven, Bye Bye Birdie will leave you swooning.
We are a company, crew, and orchestra of more than 150 participants. We're thankful for the support of our community in bringing this production to the stage. Bye Bye Birdie will be presented Friday, May 16th and Saturday, May 17th at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday, May 18th at 6 p.m. in the auditorium of the Edwin A. Nelson Fine Arts Building. Tickets are $12 and are available from students, parent volunteers, in the Brockton High School main office, or at the door. Get yours early because you don't want to miss it. Speaking as a senior, this company has truly changed my life, and this is it for me. I would love to see, we would love to see as many faces as possible there. It's an insane show. There's so many things going on. The sets are beautiful. And we just want to thank you all again for continuously supporting us, supporting our little family that we have over in the Fine Arts Building, because it truly means the most to us.
And on that note,
Bye
bye
bye,
bye,
Birdie.
Oh.
Thank you. Next, we have Katie Stanford.
Hi, I'm Katie Sanford. I'm with the Friends of the Brockton Drama Club, and I thank the ladies for humoring me this evening. The Drama Club had a funny experience during our competition season this year. At a kickoff meeting, some teachers from other districts expressed concerns at the fairness of competing against Brockton High School in regards to our big, beautiful sets and costumes and just the sheer size of our production and everyone that is involved. They said it is not fair that we are so well funded. Pause for laughter. They said that there is simply no way they can compete with the resources that Brockton High School has, and that has provided us with so many laughs this year. The Brockton High School Drama Club, many of you know, is completely self-sustaining. It funds itself through ticket sales and through an army of volunteers that raise funds. So while we are not well-resourced in money from the district, we are well-resourced in people who care about us, and we are good stewards of our materials. Some of the wood has paint that is this thick because we know how to recycle. Some of the kids are wearing costumes that their parents wore when they were at Brockton High School. So a big group of parents and friends strategize all spring and speak with local businesses, community organizations, elected officials, and friends and family for generous donations. And these fund not only this musical, but all of the productions for the next school year until we start raising funds in the spring. So it's a very important production for many reasons. Many of you in this room have already donated, and I thank you for that. And I just would encourage everyone to consider, as an individual donating, your business, your community group. There's a group of alumni from the Drama Club that are donating together. So I'd ask you to consider reaching out and donating. I'm going to leave some forms with Mrs. Campbell. I think you all know how to contact me, or the forms will be over here. You can donate right at the high school office or through a student. So I just thank you so much for your support of the arts. Now I'm going to rush Ellie and Sophia back to their practice where they're going to squeeze in some study time for the AP Lit exam they also have tomorrow. These kids do not stop, and we should all be so proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Jim Stapleton.
I had to compete against the group. I mean, wow. I'm not going to give any laughs. I'm not going to sing any songs. I'm representing South Middle School, an organization Amanda Gomez, former teacher, and I started. We call it South Opportunity Achievement Program. And we wanted to have our gala this year on the weekend of the show, but of course everyone wants to go to the show. So we're going to Bye Bye Birdie also, trust me, we'll be there en masse. But with that said, I just wanted a couple things if I could address. Next Thursday, I want to invite everyone to an event that I created called the TOSS. TOSS is next Thursday. It stands for 25 Outstanding South Students. And we're going to make sure they receive citations from various departments in the city and in the state, Senator Brady's office, Representative Mendes, and Plouffe, school committee, mayor, et cetera, in the city council. In addition, they'll also receive a plaque funded through the fundraising efforts we've had, and we'll have a dinner down at Joe Angelo's. It's next Thursday night from 6 to about 7:30. Also coming up is the gala, third annual gala, which is hard to believe already. This year it's going to be the Brockton Cafe. It's on Saturday night, May 31st. We have entertainment from Rose Conservatory early on. These are 5 to 12-year-olds who perform the bongos, play violins. They're an unbelievable Brockton organization. Later on, we'll have a DJ. The gala is free. It's open to everybody. Oh, there's Miss Gomez trying to break in on the side door right now. Wow. So everyone's invited. It's sort of the culmination of our efforts over the year to try to raise the revenue that we do. And then on June 2nd, on a Monday, we have an event called Our Time, which I created an acronym for. I guess I'm the king of acronyms. It stands for Often Under-Recognized Talented Individuals Mastering Expectations. And it's for the next 25 children who did not make the TOSS list. I saw some kids upset. There were some tears when we announced the TOSS 25 winners. So I created, with Brack's Restaurant, another layer of 25 people. It's part of changing a culture. We're lucky we work for Miss Thomas. Lisa's probably the best principal, in my opinion, in the city. We work at the best school, and we work together, the collaboration to change the culture. There's no doubt in my mind South right now is the best middle school. I see that in the support we get, and we raise a ton of funds. Everyone wants to join us and take part. So I invite everyone, again, next Thursday, and then May 31st is ultimately the big party. Just come on down, have fun. It's the Brockton Summer Gala. Come celebrate the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's our support right here.
Oh, you got me.
Came in with the support. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much. Just for the record, I just wanted to acknowledge that the mayor is under the weather and he's not able to join us this evening. Next, item 3 is the report of the superintendent of schools. Floor is all yours.
We'll start with item A, the teaching and learning report, and I believe we do have our student representative. Oh, no, never mind. Oh, she is studying for AP exams like everyone else. Yes, of course. So then we'll move on to the superintendent update. All right, good evening, everyone. So first, I just want to start out by recognizing that today is National Teacher Appreciation Day. And BPS and our individual schools are taking this opportunity to show our gratitude, not just today, but over the course of the rest of the school year. And not only for our teachers, but for our paraprofessionals, our nurses, our counselors, our administrative assistants, custodians, food service providers, school leaders, school adjustment counselors, and access control, school police, and countless others that make up our school district, and who dedicate themselves each and every day to supporting students' learning. It is my belief that every person who works in our school district is an educator. They contribute to our students' educations in some way. And the impact that they have on our students just cannot be overstated. So hopefully all of our educators, all of our amazing faculty and staff will see tokens of our appreciation over the course of the rest of the year. Some examples of our appreciation events that have already occurred include students dressing like a staff member at the Downey, a taco celebration in honor of Cinco de Mayo at the Kennedy, a visit from Dunkin' Donuts for a midday refresh at BHS, and treats in staff mailboxes at schools throughout the district. But again, there is more to come. But truly, I know that, there's, we really should be thanking our educators every single day, but please make sure to take this opportunity over the next few weeks to thank all of our amazing staff for everything that they do. And some of the things that they do are all of the amazing highlights that I have in our update for tonight. So for example, the Gilmore hosted a special family literacy night in late March, bringing students and families together alongside teachers, administrators, and key district departments. The event was an opportunity for connection between families and wide-ranging resources BPS offers to support student learning. The event also gave students and families a chance to read and learn together, and even leave with some free books and other learning materials. We even welcomed representatives, including a player from the Brockton Rocks, who shared information about their ongoing reading challenge. I also want to recognize our students and staff from the Arnone who stepped out into the sidewalk last week to show their love and appreciation for a member of our community, John J. Rooney, who is a Korean War veteran that passed away earlier this month. Mr. Rooney worked at the VA before serving in the U.S. Army in Korea and later returning home to work for the Postal Service. Without any family of his own to pay their respects, members of the community, including the Arnone, lined the streets to recognize his service. I wanted to extend a big thank you to everyone at the Arnone who came out to show their support, and on behalf of the Brockton Public Schools, extend our gratitude to the late Mr. Rooney for his service to our community. This was such a special event, and again, it's events like these and gestures like these that make Brockton so amazing. What you see here is an exclusive sneak peek at the cover of the soon-to-be-released North Middle School Multicultural Cookbook, which is a compilation of recipes from students and their families representing their cultures. This was part of North's broader efforts around its Community of Belongingness initiative. North solicited recipes from students and families that reflect their cultures and are now in the process of getting each of those recipes translated into multiple languages. The cookbook is expected to be available later this month on Amazon. In early April, the Brockton High School Music Department traveled to New York City to compete in the Heritage Music Festival. A huge shout out to the Brockton High School Concert Choir, Chamber Singers, Wind Ensemble, and Senior Jazz Band, and their directors Matthew Cunningham and Kevin Cardell. They represented the City of Champions with excellence, earning top honors and showcasing their musical talent on a national stage. The weekend was filled with standout performances and an impressive list of accolades, including Concert Choir Gold Rating, Wind Ensemble Gold Rating and First Place, Senior Jazz Band Gold Rating First Place, Outstanding Band Instrumental Category and Sweepstakes winner, Chamber Singers Gold Rating and Second Place. In addition to group awards, Glenn Overstreet and Michael Giusti, I said that right, were both honored with the Maestro Award, which is presented to students who display extraordinary musical ability and sensitivity. Brockton High also received Adjudicator Awards reserved for groups earning the highest scores from judges for all 4 performing ensembles. All 4 groups have also received invitations to perform at the 2026 Gold Medal Showcase performances that will take place either in Chicago or in my own hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. The crowning achievement of the weekend was Brockton High School being named the Festival Sweepstakes winner, the highest overall honor awarded at the festival. This award recognizes the school that brings a full music department and achieves the top combined scores across multiple ensembles. The Brockton High School Music Department continues to demonstrate a tradition of musical excellence, and this year's festival results highlight the dedication, talent, and hard work of its students and its directors. Congratulations also to the 7 Brockton High students who took part in the NAAC Brockton Area Branch's ACTSO competition on April 19th. This is short for Afro Academic Cultural Technological and Scientific Olympics, which gives Black students the opportunity to demonstrate their skills in 30 different categories within those broad areas of excellence. In all, BHS students brought home 3 gold medals, 2 silvers, and 2 bronze awards for their drawings, paintings, photography, poetry, and instrumental music talent. The gold medal winners, Adriana DeHady and Casey Rhodes, earned the opportunity to compete in the national competition that will be held in Charlotte, North Carolina in July. I also want to recognize our health services team at BPS who have done an amazing job recently in helping students obtain the vaccinations they need. Through a collaboration with the school nurses, the Mass Department of Public Health, CDR Health, JRI, and Language Bridge, BPS worked to identify students who lacked important childhood vaccines and was able to administer over 1,300 vaccines to 315 people over the 4 free vaccine clinics BPS hosted. BPS is continuing to work with local health officials and health providers to continue bridging the vaccination gap to help ensure students and their families are empowered to stay healthy. Over 50 students from City Resource Room classrooms successfully completed the 6-week Youth at Work Job Safety Training Program. This program, which was created by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, gives young students the tools they need to be safe on the job. Approximately 80% of teenagers have had a job at the time they graduate from high school. While work does have many benefits, it also has risks. Nearly 200,000 teens are injured on the job every year. With appropriate knowledge and skills, teens can play a role in making their workplaces safer now and as they move to adulthood. And fresh off the success of our BHS specific job fair, we'll be hosting a career fair featuring additional opportunities that are available or expected district-wide for the upcoming school year. The fair will be this coming Thursday, May 8th from 2:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at BHS in the Red Cafeteria. There will be opportunities to meet with our team and learn about the many opportunities available in BPS, including general, special, and bilingual education teachers, paraprofessionals, safety and security specialists, substitute teachers, and more. No RSVP is needed, and there's no better time or place to make an impact on students' lives. Coming up in just a few short weeks, we have this year's Huntington Parade, which is the 126th installment of this great Brockton tradition, and also my first, which I'm very excited about. The parade begins at 10:30 a.m. on Friday, May 30th, and will march through the area immediately surrounding the former Huntington School that's now home to Promise College and Career Academy. So I hope to see you all there. And as a final update, I did just want to let you know where we are in the budget cycle. So here's our budget timeline for the school year. And so from January to February, we have department budget meetings. April is cabinet review. May, right now, we are finalizing the budget. And on May 20th, which is our next school committee meeting, we will be presenting to you the school budget, the proposed school budget for FY26. On May 20th, we will also be having our public hearing on school choice. Then on June 3rd, we have a presentation to school committee again on the budget, so a second hearing of it, and the public hearing and budget vote. Now you'll notice there is 2 weeks in between those 2 dates in the case that we need to have additional budget meetings to discuss or to go back and review. So we built in plenty of time. And then in the second week in June, so the week of June 16th, and we're still waiting on the exact date, we will make our city council budget presentation. So I just wanted to give you an update of where we are. So that will be our next meeting, which is very exciting. And I'll take any questions at this time.
Thank you for that presentation. Do we have any questions from any of the members? Mr. Vega, followed by Mrs. Sullivan.
First, a comment. I just want to thank Ms. Sanford and the students who came out to represent Bye Bye Birdie. As we all know, and as she highlighted, we have an incredible program that somehow manages to make things work year after year after year. So for folks who are listening, for folks who want to support, please make sure you take Katie's words to heart. And if we can support that program, that would be incredible. Question, Doctor, compared to like other cities and towns that you've been a part of as a superintendent and other roles, like how does our budget cycle, how does that calendar that you just described compare? Are we in sync with other places?
It is similar. We do the budget cycle just a few weeks later here than in my previous city. So we had our final in city council in May, and we started presenting in April. But then, Boston is very large and has many, so that we would start much earlier than even that. So I think it's depending just city to city. But again, as long as you do it before the fiscal year starts, that's the best. And as long as you build in plenty of time for public hearings and feedback from school committee and city council, I think that's what is most important.
Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan?
Thank you. The mic is not working. Oh, maybe it is. It did fall apart, but sorry. I did just have a question. Usually we vote on the budget by the end of May. The city needs it before, so we're not voting on it till June 3rd, is that?
Yes, and I did review that timeline with them to make sure it was okay. Now, that's a great question. I mean, I've had budgets that have gone all different ways. I've had budgets that were approved on the first reading. You never know. But I do anticipate we could potentially call a meeting May 27th, a week later, and that would be a special meeting where we could address it again. There could certainly be a vote then. So June 3rd, I think, should be like our final cutoff, but we could certainly do it earlier.
Okay, yeah, as long as the city knows.
Right, because I believe the week of June 16th is when we're doing all of our different meetings for them.
So you already ran it past them, and that's going to be okay, June 3rd?
Yes, right.
Well, if it's okay with them, it's okay with me.
Okay. And if they tell us to move it up, I'm happy to do that too. We can do whatever works
just
best
that
for everybody.
Before, we always got the budget, like we started in like January, and we kind of looked at it all along. I know it's different since the deficit, and we kind of, where the school committee wants to spend the money, and maybe cuts were made in certain things, and money was moved to other things. So we're doing it a little different this year, so
Okay,
it's not the way we've always done it.
gotcha. And I'm happy to build in any additional steps or and any additional conversations. Just let me know. I do believe that the budget process, we are hoping it will be better and go differently every year, and that we will have more opportunities for stakeholder feedback, for community input, that we'll have more opportunity. Like this year, we were able to work with our assistant superintendents to work directly with the schools to get their feedback, and we were able to work with department heads to have those individual budget meetings. But my hope in the future is that those meetings become even more collaborative and allow for more input. So if there's any feedback on how it can go better, or how there can be additional places for input, I'm certainly open to that. I think another opportunity is in the Open Architects dashboard, where we're looking at our overall spending. Since there's access to it on in a live way, that is certainly an area too, where then if there are areas that we want to revisit throughout the school year and we want to consider deductions or improvements either for that school year or for the next fiscal school year, that could certainly be placed on an agenda to look at a specific department or look at a specific area where we want to look at the budget differently.
Thank you. So I'll just wait for when you present it if I have any other questions.
And we'll get the budget binders out to all of you for you to look at. I do hope that in that budget binder that you get, you will see that there is more transparency and more detail than in previous years. So hopefully that'll make up for whatever, wasn't done before. But I think what we're really looking at is making sure we have a very true line-by-line budget so you can compare last year and or this year and last year, or next year. One of the things, as you know from the audit, that we're working on, and that has been lacking, is a historical budget and really understanding and knowing where the money was spent. So this has been a good year to ensure that, we are getting a better idea of where money is spent. So I'm actually not exactly sure what was, presented in the past. I have seen some areas, but I also know that there were a lot of transfers that were happening in between, and that there were some areas of improvement back then. And so, again, just point me to whatever specific step you're looking for that we may have missed. But I guess what I'm just trying to do is improve upon those areas that I know are areas of growth from before. And so I'm not sure what was presented before, but I know that we have lacked a good historical budget. So, and that the budget directly from the audit, actually, the budget that was presented here didn't always match what was in Munis. And so what we are really trying to do this year is make sure that the budget you see is exactly what is input in Munis.
Okay, so that's, I know you've been working hard on it, and I thank you.
Thank you. Sullivan.
Just want to thank the nurses for the great job of getting all the students that needed to be updated with the vaccination. I know that's definitely hard work. So I definitely appreciate all the work with the health department and the nurses throughout the city to make sure this gets done. And just to hear how many kids needed to be vaccinated, I appreciate that we're keeping it updated and a look at it, especially with the measles outbreak out there. We haven't had any in Massachusetts, but it's something that we definitely have to be proactive and make sure nothing comes this way. But great job to all the nurses.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments by any of the members? So just to talk about the budget, meeting with the superintendent and her team, is we put a strategic timeline into place. The budget that's going to be presented, this is her first budget to the school committee, and it's very transparent, it's easy to read. It's going to be new to some of long-term members that's been on here, so the community is going to be very pleased as Dr. T lays out this budget. So, and that's why we left that week in between. If any members have any concerns with the budget, any line items, that you can bring it to our attention and we can call the meeting. And if nobody objects, then we can work on making the 27th our public hearing and final vote on that budget, so it could be presented to the city council. So I'm glad with that. And we will go to item C. Any items to refer to subcommittee by any of the members? Mrs. Sullivan?
The easement on the Boys and Girls Club
There's-
was voted on by the full committee.
There's a subcommittee on May 13th, which was already articulated to this committee at the last school committee meeting.
It's never been voted on by the full committee.
There's a subcommittee meeting on May 13th. That's where it's
I
going to
heard
be
that
discussed.
There was never a full school committee vote.
That's
You
why we're,
can't keep it in subcommittee without a full school committee vote.
Mrs. Sullivan, we have a facilities subcommittee meeting.
I heard you. You don't need to repeat.
No, I'm telling you, there's a meeting on the 13th. I don't know what you don't understand. I'm letting you know there's a meeting on the 13th. It's a facilities subcommittee where we're going to be discussing that issue. Do you have something to refer to a subcommittee?
Yeah, that.
So I'm the vice chair of the facility, so I'm the one that orchestrates that. So it's on May 13th. Is there an issue with that? No? We'll move on. Anybody else? Mrs. Azak.
Oh, thank you. So if the building naming can somehow get a meeting going, City Councilor Azak had reached out to me. A lot of alum have reached out to her. They'd like to make some kind of a dedication to Dr. Applin, and they were hoping to do that within the next couple of months. So they asked, how do we go about that? And I said, that's got to go before the building naming committee to see what they wanted to do. I know we've talked about it, especially after her passing. We spoke about, potentially doing something. She was a huge impact on Brockton High School and Brockton Public Schools. So a lot of them want to honor her. And I told them it's a little bit of a process. I don't know how fast we can go about it. We just need to figure out what we would like to donate. or dedicate in her memory or building naming of some sorts. So I figured it'd be a great idea to get the building naming subcommittee, schedule something, and maybe we can have them come before us with some ideas.
Okay, so if Mrs. Azak wants to, your sister, if she could reach out to Mr. Sullivan, and Mr. Sullivan can coordinate that and
Okay,
call for us for a
Perfect.
meeting in the near future. So,
perfect, thank you.
Any other members? Mr. Vega.
Just wanted to put back on the table, I brought this up a couple of times. I think this is for policy. As we all know, last year's report from, what's the name of the company?
Nystrom and Beckham.
Yeah, recommended that this group reevaluate the role of the mayor on the school committee. I think that has to come to policy. We know it's a lengthy process, but it begins with us making a recommendation, agreeing on language, agreeing on what that looks like. And I'd like to, urge us to think about adding that to policy as soon as possible.
Thank you. We can work with our legal counsel on that, because I know there's that's a city ordinance that puts the mayor in this position. So if there's something policy that we can work on, or whatever authority that this body has to address the mayor being the chairman, I fully support it. We've had a lot of conversations regarding this issue. So, Mr. Sullivan?
The facilities meeting on the 13th, do you have a time and date? I mean, a time and place?
I was going to get to
Place.
that. So it's going to be at Brockton High, correct? And does anybody object to meeting at 6 p.m. on the 13th? Or is that, if not, we can just leave it at 7?
6 is good.
6. Nobody objects for 6 p.m.? Okay, so we'll do it 6 p.m. on the 13th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nothing else referred to subcommittee, we will move on to the consent agenda. Do we have, what is the role of the committee? Do anybody wants to pull out any items? Or Mrs. Azak?
Thank you. I would like to remove items. Actually, I had a question on item G, and then I just wanted to acknowledge items H and I.
Okay.
Nope, I apologize. Hold on one second. Remove item G, and then acknowledge items J, 1, 2, 3, bullet point number 4 and bullet point number 5, the 2 donations, the grants. I'm not sure if anyone else was going to also pull those out.
Okay. Anybody else? Mrs. Sullivan?
B.
D? Anyone else? Before we do I would like to change this process a little bit if nobody objects. Mrs. Azak, you have the floor. You can talk about your items.
Okay.
And then Mrs. Sullivan, you can go after, and then we can take everything collectively.
Thank you. So under consent agenda, letter G, the approval of the Brockton High School overnight field trip request for health assisting program. They're going to program for Boston, Mass, May 1st to the 3rd. I fully support our students always going on events, and I just want to make sure, and I know I've brought this up before, and maybe when we get these requests, we can see the chaperones. I see there's 5 students. I just want to make sure, because our policy does state a male and a female chaperone when we do overnights. I'm not sure if it's like that for all our trips, but definitely the overnights when it's a few days, if we can just double check on that, and then if moving forward we can just name the chaperone so we know there's a male and a female chaperone present for the students. And then under item J, bullet point number 4, the Bar Foundation Grant Program for FY24, $560,000. I'm not going to read all of this, but just so they know that the Brockton Public Schools has been awarded an FY24 grant in the amount of $560,000 through the Bar Foundation Grant Program, and this funding supports Brockton Public Schools' continued commitment to fostering student-centered, future-ready educational models with a targeted investment in Promise High School, a valued member of the district that the Bar Foundation has generally supported with over $1 million in past initiatives. And it goes on, for those that would like to read it, it goes on. But I just want to acknowledge, that's one grant, the $560,000. And then we also have another grant for the Brookline Center, BRYT, school-based bridge programs, and that's for $268,255.26. Again, it's very important that our grants department they're getting these grants. This is money coming towards our kids. And it's very important that we just, always acknowledge them, because it allows programs, it allows different things to come into our schools. There's others that are on here, but I just wanted to pull those two because they're large amounts. But no, and I'm good with that.
And
Oh, that's me.
that's right. And just as a clarification too, the reason those FY24 donations were listed on tonight's agenda, even though they were previously received, but they had not been formally accepted. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. So we're trying to clean up things from the past. So just want to make sure that was clear.
All set, Ms. Adair?
All set, thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, the floor is yours.
Item B, the Facilities Usage and Planning Subcommittee, December 12th, 2024. I would like the minutes to reflect that Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan were not absent. They were denied access remotely by the chair of this subcommittee. So I would like the minutes to reflect that.
Duly noted. Anything further?
No.
Thank you. And what is the will of the committee with the consent agenda?
Motion to accept agenda items A, B, C, D, all the way through K, with the acknowledgement and amendments requested.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gomes, properly second by Mrs. Oliver. I will read everything into record. Item, approval of minutes of regular school committee meeting, March 4th, 2025. B, approval of minutes of facilities usage and planning subcommittee meeting, December 12th, 2024. Item C, approval of minutes of finance subcommittee meeting, November 25th, 2024. Approval of minutes of finance subcommittee meeting, November 19th, 2024. D, approval of minutes of finance subcommittee meeting, November 19th, 2024. E, approval of minutes of finance subcommittee meeting of October 29th, 2024. F, approval of minutes of career technical education spring advisory board, April 15, 2025. G, approval of the BHS overnight field trip request, health assistant program, Boston, Mass, May 1st to the 3rd of 2025. H, approval of out-of-state field trip of West Middle School to Salem, New Hampshire, June 17, 2025. I is approval of out-of-state field trip for Plough Middle School, Salem, New Hampshire, June 12th of 2025. J is a request of authorization, accept proposals for expenditures of funds. Senator Charles E. Shannon Grant, Community Safety Initiative Shannon Grant CSI Grant in the amount of $21,200. The next bullet point is performance assessment project funded through UMass, $5,000. Next bullet point is Music Drives Us Foundation Instruments Grant of $3,500. Next bullet point is the Bar Foundation grant of FY24 of $560,000. Next bullet point is Brookline Center BRYTE School-Based Bridge Programs Grant FY24 of $268,255.26. Next bullet point is the Mellie May Early College Donation FY24 $25,000. Conspicuous Institution at China Institute Classical and Modern Language Grant FY24, that's a long one, of $9,000. And the next bullet point is Room to Read donation FY24, $5,340. And K is the acceptance of human resources notifications, appointments, certified, appointments not certified, personnel actions, leaves of absence, resignations, and retirements. Show of hands. It is accepted unanimously. And next item is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Any members have any unfinished business? None, seeing none. Next, we will go to new business, and I will hand the floor over to the superintendent.
All right, so as you all know, I'm doing my best to address all of the recent audits that have taken place and ensure that we are following all necessary recommendations in order to improve our overall processes and increase our district efficiencies. And as you know, human resources and transportation are both areas that have been brought up as areas of growth. In addition to being mentioned in some of our more holistic audits, like the DESE audit and the investigation by Nystrom, Beckman, and Paris, these are also two departments, HR and transportation, that have had their own individual audits paid for by the school committee. So I would like to start with HR, which is what you see here. In an audit conducted in 2022 and presented in 2023, we were compared to other cities and districts of similar size to ours. So this chart shows the city population, school population, overall budget, and total salaries, which are obviously different from a few years ago. But as you will see, while we were not at the top of the list for either city population or student population, we were certainly at the top of the list when it came to overall cost of the department, which raised the question of our overall cost effectiveness. I think this issue was also elevated by the City Council during the period of the deficit as a demonstration that the school district leadership needed to put in cost-containing measures. So here's that same information presented visually so that you can see the stark difference between our own HR department and that of the next largest HR department, which is Lynn. So Lynn's HR department at that time still cost $600,000 less than ours. The next highest would be Newton, which spent half of what we spent on human resources, but had 2,000 less students. So this is our proposed restructure. So here you can see the current structure on the left-hand side and our proposed structure on the right. Currently, we have an assistant superintendent, 4 associate directors, and 6 administrative assistants, although one of those positions was recently vacated. What we are proposing is to go down to 3 associate director positions at a salary rate of about $20,000 less per position. Additionally, we are proposing to transfer our current administrative assistants, which we are able to do by contract, to other open administrative positions around the district, and then create 4 HR generalist positions. There are several reasons for this proposal. First, this department should not have union employees as it requires greater confidentiality, being the human resources department. While I don't know exactly why the structure was created in this way, it is necessary that we address and change it. Second, the new generalists for whom you have job descriptions would be required to have the necessary certifications and even degrees in human resources, which is the industry standard. Again, I'm not sure why this was done the way it was done previously, but what I can say is that these roles, like teaching roles, need to have certain certifications and background experience or degrees. And so that is what we are trying to achieve with this proposed structure. I also do want to make clear that this, while it does impact administrative assistants, will not result in anyone losing their job, and we will be able to involuntarily transfer, although we will do it in consultation with any impacted employees if this is to be approved by the school committee. I think it's also important to note that this is not about our administrative assistants, who are wonderful and doing amazing work. This is about our HR department, which is what we need to address. So I think it's important to bifurcate those two issues, because they, while again, we have administrative assistants in our HR department, that is not the structure that we should have. So the results would be that we would go from 11 positions to 8, and we will go from spending $1.3 million to $983,000. I know that this is a modest savings, but I think it demonstrates a step in the right direction. I think it allows us to value the staff we have and even retain them in different positions, while also lowering costs and gaining additional expertise as required by the audit. And then next, for transportation. So as you know, we have been working very hard on our transportation department, and we did have an audit by TAS. So another one of the proposed restructures, which was actually made as a result of our previous search for a director of transportation was actually as the result of interviews that include school committee and city council. Now, the TAS audit had actually stated that we did need to have more staff in our transportation office, that we were understaffed. Obviously, again, we're trying to manage costs and we're trying to determine what is the future of our transportation department. But as I mentioned in the past, we do want to retain a transportation department in-house at least for another year. We want to do our best to do this plan and to really execute it correctly. So we don't want to just throw out the plan, which I do believe was a good one. We just want to try to be able to execute it appropriately with some of the cost-saving measures that do include going out to bid. One of the new positions that we had discussed previously, but thought that we would really do it after we had hired a director of transportation so that they could be part of the process, was we had talked about hiring an assistant director of transportation. However, the result of the interviews is that we actually identified 2 candidates already, one that could be a great director and one who would be a wonderful assistant director. So after consultation with the groups that did the interviews, it was proposed that maybe we have add this position now, and that we be able to extend offers to both individuals. So this is really just for your discussion. I know we haven't really talked about this in the past, so I'm certainly open to your thoughts. We could potentially just hold off on this until next fiscal year and go with the director, but we did want to take this opportunity to take advantage of the talent that we have at our disposal and that is interested in working in our transportation department. So we thought that we would try to seize this moment to do so. And that brings me to the end of the presentation, so I'll take any questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. You done?
Oh,
No, the
I'm
floor is
not
yours
allowed to
if you're not done.
recognize people. You have to recognize
Hold
people. Sorry.
We'll open up for questions. Mr. Sullivan.
Yes, on these, what you call them, generalists? Is that position, do they have to have a residency in Brockton?
They would be non-union positions. So we could put on the job description, so the job description would be approved by you also. If you would prefer to put residency preferred, we could certainly do that.
The reason I bring it up is because the administrative assistants already are residents of Brockton. They already live here, and now they're being transferred. And the transfer, are you talking about the same pay or reduction in pay?
So as per the contract, if a grade 5 administrative assistant is transferred into a grade 4 position, they retain their salary. So no. To answer your question, no, it would not reduce in reduction in pay.
And what would happen if somebody, for example, wants to organize the generalist?
So these have to be non-union positions because they're in the human resources department and they need to be confidential employees.
So, in other words, it's against the law to unionize these people?
So I don't know that I don't know how you word that, but it is not best practice for them to not be confidential employees, and that is, it is an issue that we have faced.
One final question. Have you had trouble with the administrative assistants since you've been here?
With the administrative assistants in the HR department?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
But yet you want to change it?
So again, this is as a result of our human resources audit. Now, if the school committee does not want to make the change, this is up to you all. I think it's my job, again, being brought here for the reasons I was brought, to make sure that we are looking at the cost efficiency and that we are actually using the audits that you all have paid for and taking their recommendations. So I believe it's my responsibility to put it before you. If you all choose that you would prefer to have a department that is non-confidential and that costs more, that is certainly up to you all. That would not be my recommendation, but that is what I'm putting before you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sullivan?
I agree with you, Dr. Tahalani, that the workers in there have a wealth of knowledge and are great workers, and they've served the district for many years. And I hate to see, you know, because they've been so good, but I know the cost thing, and I'm glad you're looking at it, because we do have to do something with the budget. And so I'm kind of, I just want to make sure we have all our questions answered before we vote on anything. Because of what was presented at the beginning, I'd like to be able to maybe talk to you about it.
Absolutely, and I believe you have the human resources audit, so I know that some members were not here back when you received the results in 2023. So I believe you're going to have them for executive session this evening, and also that we would like to be able to present them publicly, as I think they should. Again, I think it's, unless you
Just
don't-
to chime in, every member that's sitting here today was already presented the HR audit in an executive session.
Oh.
Every member already had the opportunity to ask those questions.
No, this
So-
is a restructure of the office
Oh, then my apologies, you're
that
right.
I have questions on.
Or just
Yeah.
the restructure, but
This is,
Oh, those you can ask here, though, in
Right,
public.
yes,
Yeah.
those are,
but
that's not,
because of what was presented earlier and hearing the visitors, I would like to get a chance to talk to you about what was presented in it before I vote on it.
Absolutely, and I would say that I would disagree with the characterization of it being unlawful for us to do this. It's absolutely not. In fact, these provisions are articulated in the contract, and that we do require to give them 2 weeks' notice. I would like to give them more notice, but obviously that is contingent upon approval by this committee. I think it's also important, because one of the statements that was made was why now? I think the question that I would pose is why not 5 years ago? Why not 10 years ago, right? Like these are changes that should have been recommended, that should have been made, cost savings that should have been done. And so I recognize why now is probably because, you know, of the deficit, because it's been brought up at city council meetings, it's been brought up, you know, multiple times, and in all transparency, you know, many of the concerns have been with the overall cost and structure of this particular office. So I think we've heard two different things, HR and transportation, which is what I'm trying to solve for. So I'm absolutely open to answering any questions today, or if you would like to put it off to a later time, that is fine too. You do have an additional copy of, or will receive an additional copy of the audit, but I am happy to answer any questions. And I would totally agree. I do completely value the staff that we have, and we have engaged the union. We actually engaged the president. I had a conversation with the president as well, you know, just to get his input. And I think it is important. One of the things he had actually mentioned is that he had been advocating for specialist positions for quite some time. I don't know if that was specific to HR, but he had mentioned about having those who have additional skill sets or certifications. So that was even something that he had mentioned or proposed, and I think that that's important to note as well.
Okay, and just one other question on the transportation. So there'll be a director of transportation and assistant director.
Correct.
Now, will there be any other people in there?
So just the ones that are already there. We did have the audit that required additional positions that would be presented as part of the budget that we're going to present. The reason I presented this one now, earlier, is because of us potentially wanting to extend an offer. Yeah.
So would some of the people that have been in there, would they be staying, or?
Yes, I certainly hope
Because they
so.
have a wealth of knowledge about how our routes run and.
Yes, so there are no other positions, yeah. If anything, there would be additions.
Because it would be a big learning thing for the new people to learn.
Right.
And our buses run pretty good this year. I would say very good this
Oh,
year. We haven't
good.
had many complaints.
Oh, great, I'm glad to hear that.
Compared to other years, we had a lot of
Okay.
transportation complaints.
Wonderful.
So I would say we don't want to lose that knowledge of the people that know how that works.
Yes, I think it's definitely always a fine balance to make sure we are retaining institutional and historical knowledge while also recruiting talent and additional talent and expertise in these areas, because this is an area where, yes, I think we do have folks who have been working here for a while, and so they know the ropes. At the same time, I know that transportation is new and was brought in new to all of us, and so as per the audit, but as per just everything we've seen, we do require additional expertise. So I think it's both. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Gomes?
Thank you. There we go. Few more so of clarifications than questions. I'll start with the transportation. I was part of the interviewing panel. We had two very strong candidates. I do like the new structure of the director and assistant director. If we can, I would vote on it tonight so we can actually go ahead and extend the offer. Hopefully, good things will come from that. The other thing, as far as HR restructuring, I also like the idea. I just had a few clarification questions. I know we're going from 11 to 8 as proposed. Are these professionals going to be given the option to fill out these new positions, or is it just going to be assigned? For instance, the HR generalist, because we know we have 11, we only have, let's say, 8 positions to fill. Are we going to give them an option? Do you want to become an HR generalist?
So anyone can apply for any position. However, the positions that you have in front of you do ask for HR, a background in HR, meaning not only a certification or license, but potentially also, a degree. So you can get a degree in HR, and that an industry standard is potentially having that HR learning or experience or education and certification. So that's really what we're looking for.
And for individuals that might have to fill a different role, we do have positions or other roles available for them to fill in for.
Yes, actually more than enough. So we have some vacancies that we haven't been able to fill, or that we have other, we have had substitutes or retirees filling. We also have added positions in the budget for next year, so there will be some options there. So overall, we have about the same amount in administrative assistant positions, even when these positions are no longer in HR.
Okay, I think it makes sense.
And according to the contract too, we are able to assign administrative assistants based on skill, knowledge, experience, expertise, and so we have already consulted with the leadership team on what those potential, transfers would be. But then, again, pending approval here, we would then work with the union members themselves and the union to ensure that it's an option that, is somewhere that they would like to be or have.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Azak?
Thank you, Dr. T. Great presentation. So in 2023, I was part of another committee that was here for the original audit, and then we were finally able to review it. I don't have the numbers that were on your slideshow, but I remember when it was brought before us, it's a tough decision, and I support your decision. Sometimes we have to make these difficult decisions that affect people, because when you look at other districts our size, it just doesn't make sense how they have the same amount of students, and the salaries are a lot less. I work well with our HR department, but when you look at the other districts, I remember one question I said is, well, what are they doing differently that they're able to do it with this amount of people, where we have almost double and we're not? So I know we had discussed things, maybe different types of training for other administrators outside of that department, that things are I'm being cautious because I'm not sure, some stuff I learned during, and we're going to be discussing it in executive, but sometimes better training for other departments so they're not pushing everything towards HR, so HR isn't being overwhelmed and not able to, they're doing things that other trying to be cautious, but that other administrators are, you know, if the schools are sending everything to HR, maybe we need stronger training. So especially with all the new laws, things like that, everyone's being extra cautious. They don't know sometimes how to go about things. So easy, let's just send it to HR. So I know at that time I had asked to see how another district, which was very similar to our district, how are they doing it? And I was hoping like before you even came on, it was a previous superintendent that I had mentioned that to. So maybe we can look back into that and see what are they doing, what kind of training are they offering. Their schools, again, they're working with less people, same size district, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know if we're just throwing everything at that one department.
I would say yes. And from having been in previous districts, I would not agree that our HR department is bare bones by any means. And in fact, the district I'm coming from, we started with 2 people in HR for a district half the size. By the time I left, we had 3. And so we're going for, now we're twice the size, but then you extrapolate that and that's 6. So we're still, you know, I think going to have a robust department with a number of employees, but I do see, and the audit definitely showed, that a lot of the responsibilities that would generally be held by principals or at the school level are being taken on by HR. So I think to your point, it's more about training and release, right? So we train our school leaders, we train our hiring heads to make sure they understand how the HR process should work from a hiring perspective. You get your interview, your candidates, you score based on a rubric. Here are sample rubrics depending on what kind of position. Then you go down to this number of candidates. Here are the questions you ask. Here's who you include, the stakeholders that should be at the table for first round, second round, third round. You may have a performance task. You may have school visit. Like, again, it all sort of depends. But there's a process that you follow that you then institute, you train, and then principals and other hiring department heads. So, for example, it might be the ELA coordinator for ELA. You know, those are the folks who do that work. Whereas right now, yes, I would say our HR department takes on a lot of that work on their own. I think that's the same for when we have disciplinary or staff issues. A lot of that should be is typically done by the schools. But again, that requires training and release. But, you know, that's sort of the work that we do as an educational organization, right? Even for our students. We're teaching, we're then scaffolding and supporting, and then we're releasing them to do the work. And I would say that that's exactly what we are aiming to do moving forward. And that makes it so that then those two, the benefit of that is that not only is HR carrying it all and having all of the expense, but then you have those who are closer to the work who are doing that kind of hiring, who are responsible for those kinds of processes. And I think that that has additional benefits in ensuring that you have the right staffing, that you have the right, you know, those kinds of things. So I think there's a lot of different benefits that and best practices that we can learn from other districts. And I think this is sort of our first step in getting there.
You answered that perfectly, because being very cautious, people are watching, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. But it just, sometimes there's a lot of emotion involved, but after reviewing the report, I did notice we need to provide them better training to help them, you know, when it comes time to doing the tasks that they need to do. And it was the previous acting superintendent, I had mentioned to him, let's go look at this district. It doesn't make sense. And I think it was Fall River, either Fall River or Lynn, almost same size district, and it was just, what are they doing differently? What can we learn from them? They're making it work, and they have the same size district. So, but no, thank you. I appreciate it. And like I said, it's a tough decision, but I fully support you. We have to see what we need to do things more efficiently.
Absolutely.
More efficiently.
Right. And I think now, you know, now that we know better, we can do better. And I do just want to reiterate, and I've said this about transportation, I say this about our HR department too. Again, the processes and the procedures and even the structures that exist here exist existed for a reason. They came about for a reason. And it's no one person's fault. There's a reason for the genesis of this. And I I appreciate everybody who works in that department and how hard they've worked in order to get us to where we are. But, and it was not upon them to know, what were best practices or how to do this better. And so now it is our job, unfortunately, to have to make some of these tough decisions and course correct. But I do think that one of the, the benefits here is that we are still valuing our staff, we're retaining our staff, to the best of our ability.
So my last question has to do with the director and assistant director for transportation. So again, the transportation, I was here from day one with a few other members. And as far as the assistant director, we have the funds available for that position.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because again, when you have the right employees with the training that they're needed, things are going to run a little differently if they have the background in the transportation and they have the proper training in transportation. Again, this wasn't supposed to be a huge moneymaker, but for those that, and I'm not going to rehash this, but for those that are not familiar, we were paying years ago, way before COVID hit, while we were in COVID, over $12 million a year. And every year, when I first started, we were like $60,000 some odd a bus to lease. And then COVID time, I think it was like $90,000. The prices just kept going up. So it just made more sense to purchase our own fleet where we were leasing these year after year. So it wasn't going to be a big moneymaker, but I think with the right personnel, with the right training, again, it's a tough decision that needs to be made, but we're following audits that we paid for that are giving us the direction that we need to take. So if we have the funding for that, I'm fully supporting that as well.
And I think you're exactly right. And I think some of the things that I presented the last time, I presented the work in of transportation and some of the cost-saving measures we're trying to implement for this year. While they're kind of small money, maybe this year, it was $19,000 a month, but that was one bus route, right? And that took a lot of work for people like myself and folks on the leadership team who weren't necessarily transportation experts or hadn't done that work in the past. It was us just kind of trying to dig in and say, okay, where are these buses? Who do they have on them? How are we? So if you have that additional expertise, and I think one of the candidates that we identified has that kind of expertise. So we have routing expertise, we have financial cost savings expertise. And those are the people you need during that work. So I imagine that, they'll be able to, that position will pay for itself in the cost savings that we will obtain by having more efficient routing, more efficient, the way we're putting students on private transportation and things like that. I think that we're going to see some of the small cost saving measures that we were able to make this year, mid-year. I think by having the right people in place, you'll see those cost-saving measures increase over time.
Originally, when we had decided to bring on our own in-house transportation, it wasn't going to be a 1 year. It was over, I think, 5 years. If I can go back, I know I found a booklet months ago, but I think it was like a 5-year plan where over the years, eventually it was going to be a huge money saver. But obviously, like everything else with every business, the first few years are expensive, and you're it's going to take time. But it was supposed to be a huge savings for us. Again, we were leasing for multi-million dollars a year, over $12 million. And I think last I remember seeing something that was over $100,000 to lease per bus. And we own our buses. So, but again, right direction, tough decisions, but I appreciate all your hard work. Thank you.
Any more comments? Mr. Vega.
I just want to start, and I think as a number of committee members have articulated, this is a difficult conversation to have. I think it's important to be sensitive and to think about all these things. I think it's also important to be sensitive about the effect, how we got here, right? And so it's my understanding, I came in an unconventional manner at the late hour, and when I came in, I was educated very quickly. And what I learned is that after realizing there was a deficit, there was a freeze put on hiring across the board, right? This had a disproportionate effect on our teachers. How so? No, teachers didn't lose jobs, but teachers weren't hired. So as a result, those teachers who had jobs did 2 and 3 times the job. So it's really important that when we talk about sensitivity, we understand that this isn't about simply removing jobs. This is about resource allocation. And those resources need to be allocated strategically in classrooms. Our students need to be the direct recipients of this. And if we have teachers who are working 2 or 3 times what they expected to work, if we have teachers who don't have time for planning for our students, if we have teachers who don't have time to meet one-on-one with our students, we have a problem. And so it's really important that these conversations aren't purely about addressing one department. We charged Dr. Heliani with some hard work. As a city, we did that. As a city, we said we can never fall into the hole that we fell into. And we've said, make some hard decisions, right? But I think it's important that as we remain sensitive to everyone's employment, we recognize the disproportionate effect that the deficit and this freeze that we had to put in temporarily in place had on our teachers, and as a result, our students. Questions? So when you presented, you said the cost difference, we saw a slide there that had some pretty wild differences. Are the costs that we're seeing for HR because of the number of positions that we have, the salary, or both?
Both.
Okay. How many current staff have the recommended certifications that you mentioned?
So right now, many of our associate directors are actually getting the certification, so they're training.
In process. I'm not trying to push on this. How many currently, though?
Do have them?
Yeah.
I actually don't know the answer to that question.
No, I asked that question again because, when we talk about sensitivity, it's important to remember that we have teachers who are listening and know they could never get hired without having and maintaining certain certifications. We talked about you talked about reducing the cost significantly. I think it was 1.3 million down to about 900,000. I can't remember from the slides. Where does that 900,000 compare to other cities and districts?
And so, we'll post this because I don't know if you've seen, but on our new website, we actually post all of the presentations. So this will be posted tomorrow, but there is a calculation error, so that's not great. So that 983 should actually be 30,000 more. So that would be 1.03. 270,000. So that will be on the corrected slide that I provide to you. But if you go back a slide, okay, no, go back a slide, sorry, back, no, sorry, towards the front. Yes, here we go. So here you see.
That still puts it.
Well, I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, okay.
I thought the conversation we were going to have is Priya, do better, save more. So I'm glad to hear that everybody is happy with modest improvement. And again, when we're having, we want to make incremental change, and the reason we want to do that is because these are tough conversations, because we want to value our staff, because we want to value institutional knowledge. We don't want to change everything overnight. But yes, we are still well above everybody else. And so that this is going to be a work in progress.
And I asked the question because I appreciate the fact that this isn't a slash and burn.
Right.
This is a measured series of moves that include making sure that there is space for those who are currently in the office to maintain positions within the district.
Correct.
So I just want to say that one more time out loud. This isn't a slash and burn. This is a measured movement. And I think that speaks volumes to this, kind of strategic mindset you brought to the position. For transportation, I have just one question. I think it was a couple of months ago, we talked about, the number of mechanics that we had in terms of maintenance and maintaining our fleet. Does the structure that you've proposed, does that address the gaps in maintenance?
Does not.
Okay.
So
what would need to be put in place to address that?
2 more mechanics.
Okay, so we have 3 currently in the structure you put up there. Okay.
Yes. So these are areas that in the upcoming budget you'll see. And again, while we're on one hand not slashing and burning, we're also not trying to like, we're trying to be measured in how we make the change. And there are other ways to provide the additional support for, we could outsource or like, there are things that we could do in order to ensure that we are keeping up with an aging fleet. But you will also see in the transportation department, again, not subtractions, but additions. But this is an area where, so you have the HR audit, which says that we were a little overstaffed and overspent, and we have a transportation audit that said the office was, so that, to your point about reallocation of resources, I would say it's twofold. Yes, we want more resources to be going to our students, to our teaching, and we're trying to do that the best we can by reallocating the resources that are on the administrative department, right? We aren't taking resources from schools to reallocate. In fact, our upcoming budget, you'll see additional resources in teaching staff and the staff that directly services students, while at the central level or the district-wide level, we're doing more reallocations.
Thank you.
Any further questions, concerns? Well, with Mr. Sullivan.
Transportation question. Can you say who is the executive director?
Currently?
No, the new proposed.
No. I haven't offered the position. We haven't gotten approval from you all, so I wouldn't be able to share their name.
Okay.
Any questions, concerns? Well, with full transparency, just a refresher, that HR audit was conducted 18 months prior to we even getting that presented to this committee. It's shameful that it didn't come before the school committee. And when I became vice chair, this month begins a year that it was presented to us. And here we are with a new superintendent that's actually taking the lead in the charge to address those issues. And I totally support it. You guys can go back. Everybody has a copy. Review it. If you guys want to bring the auditor back in for further questions, we'll be gladly accommodate everybody, and we can ask more questions if you want more questions, but that audit speaks for itself. So we'll move on from that. Being said, I will entertain a motion with the restructure of the human resources for FY26 human resources journalist position. What is the will of the committee?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's proposed restructure.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Vega, properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. This will be a roll call vote. Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Abstain.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
Myself is a yes, it passes. We will entertain a motion for the Assistant Director of Transportation for FY25.
Motion to approve new position for FY25 Assistant Director of Transportation.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gomes, properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. This will also be a roll call vote. Ms. Oliver?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yeah.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Myself is a yes, it passes. Next, we have the request for general transfer for purchase of facilities vehicle.
You
Oh,
skipped
no,
one.
you skipped new positions
The
for
new-
FY26 human resources generalist, that job description.
The third one.
Yeah, it has to go with the
So the restructure, but then.
Okay, I'm sorry. I put it all together in one.
Sorry, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion for the FY26 human resources.
On the motion, Vice Chair?
On the motion, Mr. Vega.
I did it right then. So just for point of clarity, Superintendent, so the new generalist positions, if I'm recalling the slides, the administrative assistant salary compared to the generalist salary sees an increase going in the
Yes.
generalist direction, correct?
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, and that would be a range. I'm going to be honest, that's ambitious to get all four. I think this time in the hiring season, and given the certifications and background experience that we're requiring, and having hired for these similar positions before, and knowing what the pool looks like, I don't believe we'll get all four, but the range is 75 to 90.
Thank you.
That's it.
You motioned.
Yeah, motion to approve new positions for FY26 Human Resource Generalists.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Gomes, properly second by Ms. Oliver. Roll call vote. Mrs. Oliver?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Abstain.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
No.
Myself is a yes, it passes. Next on the agenda is discussion of vote, request of journal transfer purchase of facilities vehicles. Mr. That's supposed to be,
I may need to postpone.
we will postpone that?
Yes, could you please, sorry.
Can I have a motion to postpone this item to the next regular school committee meeting, please?
Motion to postpone the request for journal transfer purchase facilities vehicle to next meeting.
Second.
Motion is made by Ms. Oliver, properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. Show of hands. Passes unanimous. And the next item is regarding Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 school committee meeting time change is the school choice. School choice, we're going to move it to 7:15, and the regular school committee will commence at 7:30. Can I entertain a motion?
Can I ask why are we doing that?
Melinda, can you remind me again?
Sorry,
Why are we
yes.
changing the time?
Because we want to have a public hearing ahead of time, and we have a subcommittee meeting, too. We have a subcommittee and a public hearing. So yes, the public school choice, sorry, on the informational bulletin, sorry, we would have the public school choice meeting at 6:45, the regular school committee meeting at 7, and that would allow us the opportunity, I believe we were trying to schedule a subcommittee meeting ahead of that on May 20th, correct?
Correct. We're working on that.
One of the many that I know we need to have before the end of the year.
So we're
I
trying to
think
see
we- yeah.
what's more priority, so we'll
Yeah, I think we were.
finalize that.
I know we have many things that have been referred to subcommittee, so we were just trying to figure out which one should go there, which one is most pressing. So we just wanted to make sure we had the time allotted to do that. But obviously, that would be contingent upon moving the meeting. Wait, but did I say that right? The 6:45, 7 o'clock subcommittee, that's where it is now, but that's not what it,
Yeah, we're going to move it to 7:15 and then 7:30.
great, thank you.
Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve the Tuesday, May 20, 2025 school committee meeting time.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Gomes, properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. Show of hands. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is discussion potential vote to create the new subcommittee for mental health and well-being. The floor is to Mr. Gomes and Ms. Oliver.
Thank you. As you guys know, in our previous meetings, I had read the proposal for the creation of the new subcommittee for mental health and well-being with the purpose of specifically focusing on the mental health and well-being of our students, allocating resources, and looking at what proactive steps were taken towards their overall well-being. As you guys know, there has been an increase in mental health challenges recently, and we want to be proactive and especially dedicate a subcommittee to working with the professionals that we have within the schools to make sure we allocating resources and implementing new projects, new steps towards supporting the students. Ms. Oliver, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, I think this is something that's really late coming, that we should have been focused, especially during COVID and after COVID. What in May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think this is the right month for us to get the subcommittee and definitely work with the counselors, adjustment counselors, and also the nursing department to basically focus on mental health and well-being. And I think just from early in the meeting, just getting our vaccination up to where it needs to be state policy and regulation, I think this is something that we definitely should have done a long time ago, and I strongly working with you, I'm glad to be sponsoring this and get this started.
Thank you. Any questions, comments by any of the amendments? Mr. Vega, followed by Mrs. Sullivan.
I wholly support this idea. I think it's fantastic. My question would be, I mean, given the nature of mental health and, how not just personally driven it is, but, its ramifications for a family. What, if anything, do you see, what are the opportunities for parents to engage this subcommittee to share? So Mr. Gomes and the two of you have an incredible background in health and mental health, but like, what are the opportunities for parents who also may have some thoughts and experience in this to engage the subcommittee?
There we go. That's a great question. And I have a prime example of one of the things that I had in mind as far as this subcommittee goes, is organizing forums like the ones that the superintendent is proposing to engage with the community, with staff members, with residents. So although, when we do the subcommittee meetings, that will not be one of the programs. However, we can schedule these events where community members can come and we can have conversations. We can talk about what is needed, what they're seeing in the community, and how is the best way that we can support, we can allocate some of our resources to attend to those needs. Thank you, Superintendent, for the...
Also, to answer your question, is also inviting outsourced members in the community that also deals with mental health daily, right? And to see how they work daily to prevent suicide rate to increase. There's a lot of issues with mental health tonight. Young kids, there's eating disorder. I worked in the eating disorder facility in the past, and the youngest child I dealt with was 10 years old. And a lot of our kids go through bullying. So ways that we can basically prevent all this to damage our kids more than they are by media, by TikTok, by all the stuff that's out there that's basically making it more struggling for parents to deal with what's going on, and us being in the front of helping our kids battle mental health.
Ms. Oliver and Mr. Gomes, I just want to say, as somebody who's only late in life come to recognize the importance of mental health, I want to thank you both for bringing this to our attention and for normalizing the idea of taking care of our mental health as a community. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any more comments by any of the members? Mrs. Sullivan and Mrs. Azak.
This isn't about the subcommittee. This is a question for Dr. Tehilani about the vaccine. I was going to ask you then, but I
Can
forgot.
we just hold off on that for just a minute? Mrs. Azak?
Thank you. I know I've said this before, and I'm always proud to sit on this committee with my fellow colleagues. And I really appreciate you both bringing your background. I always say we all bring something to the table. We all have different backgrounds. And this is something that I love it. I support it. Thank you for bringing it, because a lot of our students need this. A lot of our students have reached out and asked for different ways of support. And bringing your background and your knowledge to this committee to bring it out to our community, I commend you both. I really appreciate that. That's one way of just showing that we do bring something to the table, not just sitting here voting on finance and policies and stuff. You're bringing something to our community that our students and our families are going to be able to benefit from, and we as colleagues can better educate ourselves. So I just want to thank you both for creating this new subcommittee.
All right, thank you as well. Before we go to Mrs. Sullivan, can we entertain a motion to create this new subcommittee? And also on that motion, it's only fair that Mr. Gomes and Ms. Oliver are on that committee.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who wants to be the chair, but I have to forward that to the mayor for his approval. But is there any other members that are interested in serving on this new subcommittee? Ms. Azak? I'll nominate you, Mr. Vega.
So okay, it's the count four?
Yeah.
Four.
Yeah.
So I will
Yeah.
submit that to the mayor for approval, and then we can take a formal vote at the next school committee. So I'll entertain a motion to create the subcommittee.
Like to make a motion to.
Yes.
Hold on. We can't make the motion.
He wants the limelight.
I'll entertain a motion to create a new subcommittee, the Mental Health and Well-Being Subcommittee.
And I will second that.
Motion was made by Mr. Gomes, properly second by Ms. Oliver. Show of hands.
Me neither.
It's unanimous. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours, Mrs. Sullivan.
So, Superintendent, I just wanted to ask you, on the vaccine clinic, did we have a good attendance for that, or about?
I believe so. I don't know that. I mean, I know that there were 315 families. Is that what it said? And I know that before that we had I know that back in February we had also had several clinics So I think at that time it was 234 people had been vaccinated with 970, and I think the new count is now the 1,300 with 300 plus people that had been vaccinated.
And that was all free, right? That was all
Yes.
free?
Yes.
Okay. And they got, do you know what vaccines they got, or no? Okay, yeah.
The
I'll
ones
ask,
they have to have.
I'll ask the director.
Probably the childhood ones.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are the most
probably like the
important
chickenpox and
ones.
stuff. and,
Chickenpox, the MMR,
the MRI
tetanus,
one,
yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you.
I can certainly find out more.
Thank you. And the next agenda,
I forgot something with the facilities vehicle. I was ready to do that tonight. Can we go back now that I postponed it, or it's too late?
no, we can go back to that if we can just have the motion removed to postpone, which was,
Me first.
yeah, if you can make that.
Motion to put back on the table, request for a journal transfer purchase of facilities vehicle.
Motion was made by Mrs. Alba, second by Mrs. Azak. Show of hands. Unanimous. The floor is yours,
Okay,
Superintendent.
thank you. Sorry. So this request is specifically coming from our surplus fund, the net school spending carryover, where I had presented, we had $7.2 million in surplus. I had presented a $4.1 million budget investment plan for things that we wanted to spend this year. We have identified 3 of our facilities vehicles that sorely need to be, they are no longer able to be maintained, and we need to try and purchase vehicles. So we do need to go through the appropriate procurement process. We do think or believe that we should be able to do so by the end of the school year, and would love to be able to do it so that it's ready for next school year. So the request for a journal transfer would be for the amount of $100,000 from the surplus fund that still has $3.1 million in it. So that would be another $100,000, bringing our budget investment plan to 4.2.
Thank you. Ms. Azak?
Thank you. So how many vehicles did you say?
3.
3 vehicles for 100K. Now, years ago, I served on the accounts review subcommittee, and we had so many vehicle repairs. What is the year of these vehicles? Because sometimes when we buy older vehicles, and I know I discussed this with the previous CFO years ago, when you buy the older vehicles, all we're doing is repairing. It's
Right.
cheaper to buy newer.
Yes.
So how old are these vehicles, and are we gonna, I'd rather purchase something newer than something older and spend repair
Yes.
shop.
And that was actually a conversation that was had, because you're exactly right, and I guess that had been brought up previously, because while we're trying to be economical on one end, it doesn't maybe end up serving us as well on the other end. So we did research vehicles, and were able to find, and again, they may not still be available by the time it comes around to procuring them, but we were able to find that a good market rate for the vehicles that we're looking for would be a little over $30,000, and that is actually spending more than what we've spent in the past in order to get newer vehicles with less miles and less maintenance.
Okay. Are these trucks? Are they cars? Are they
No,
pickup
no,
trucks?
they're big facilities vehicles. They
Box
have
trucks.
yeah.
The box
I mean,
trucks for
30,000 for a
facilities.
box truck really isn't that much.
It isn't. I guess new they cost like
70
really
grand, 70
Well,
to
the-
90,000.
Yes.
And that was my, again, we would have so many repairs, and it was just, I'm like, for what we're spending on repairs, we could have just gone a smidgen newer.
It is true, and so we did go a smidgen newer. Now, if the suggestion is to even to really explore even new, I mean, I'm sure
Because they have
Ken Thompson,
warranties. and-
I'm sure Ken Thompson would be thrilled to hear that. He was thrilled to certainly look at even newer ones. But, again, we're always just trying to balance the expense. But we could certainly, if you wanted to do a greater amount, we could certainly look into getting newer ones, and then we could bring that before you all or it would go through the appropriate procurement process to ensure that it's all done appropriately. But I mean, we would certainly invite getting newer ones if that was possible.
No, definitely, again, not to sound like a broken record, but it just seemed like all we were doing, and for a truck for 30,000 is not a lot of money.
Right.
A vehicle, yes, like a car, a little sedan, yes, pre-owned, but those box trucks go for a lot of money, so 30,000. and I know something somewhat newer, you'd still have a little bit of a warranty on it. Again, just seeing all those repairs come through, that was one of the reasons we had brought in another mechanic at one point, because I believe Mr. DiAgostino was on the committee with me at the time, and we looked into it, and it just made more sense to buy newer. But I would definitely recommend, Mr. Thompson is obviously, skilled. He knows what he needs to get for his department, but just as long as we're not constantly fixing them.
Okay.
Mrs. Sullivan?
So we have to go through, you said we have to go through the procurement process?
I believe
So what does that entail?
For purchasing vehicles, this is actually my first time doing that, so I don't, do you know?
Yes, I do. It's, they're using the state combine system, so they get 3 codes, so they're already vetted out. So that's the system that they're using for procurement, state combines.
I don't know what that means, so.
Yeah. So it's more
I have
of,
no idea
it's
what
a
that
quicker
means.
process versus putting out the bids and waiting for the duration and
Oh,
opening
do we
them
have
in
to
and
go through
awarding them.
city
So,
council approval for that, for the money?
No.
no.
No, because it's already the money that's been appropriated to us in the net school spending carryover, so it just requires approval by the school committee.
Mr. Vega.
My apologies. Ms. Sullivan is asking a question I think that folks at home may not know the answer to. But when the Vice Chair mentions the state combine, these represent a long list of companies and vendors who have been vetted by the state. And what they have to do to make that list ensures cities and towns of their validity as somebody's going to honor the agreement. So it expedites things for a number of cities when you use the state combine or versus going out on your own.
But aren't we gonna need more money for transportation too? So do we have all this money?
So
Totally different.
it has to come from a different pot, because any money for transportation, meaning getting students to and from school, is non-net school spending. So that is a different appropriation. This is net school spending, so we can actually buy vehicles for our schools that is net school spending worthy. So this can go on our net school spending carryover. Whereas any money for transportation can't necessarily go on our net school spending carryover, which is why we've gone to City Council to ask for additional money. At the last meeting that I went to, and the conversation that we've had, is that we are going to so we knew that we were going to need an additional, even after the $6 million that they had appropriated to us as part of last year's budget, that even after the non-net school spending that they had appropriated for us, that we may need an additional $5 million for transportation.
Right.
However, what we are doing is we are utilizing our circuit breaker in order to try to bridge that gap, and we have some other areas of non-net school spending areas where we can try and bridge that gap. So I believe we are on track and can provide you a greater update next time to bridge that gap as much as possible. So we are reclassifying expenses that are appropriate, so that are special education appropriate, so that we can then use our circuit breaker for transportation. So we're offsetting some expenses that are appropriate so that we can try and bridge the gap ourselves, so that we do not have to put further strain on the city council. We have been in conversations, very close conversations, with both the city, with our consultant, and with the state, in order to ensure that everybody understands that this is what we're doing, and that this is our plan, and that it is okay with everyone.
Thank you.
Any more questions or comments? So I'll entertain a motion for the journal transfer.
A motion to accept the journal transfer for facilities vehicles.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Vega, properly seconded by Mr. Gomes. Show of hands. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next on the agenda is school safety and security for our police liaison. I didn't see you. Oh, Lieutenant Banaka. The podium's all yours, Lieutenant.
Good evening, evening, Superintendent. Good evening, Mr. Vice Chairman. Good evening, school committee members and those in attendance. So for the public safety update, big issue in the last couple of weeks has been some traffic issues. I know on Thursday, May 1st, there was a traffic accident near West Middle School. We had several officers on the scene doing traffic, and because it was the start of school, it was quite an issue. So school committee member Azak notified me, and we sent some additional personnel, including city police, to handle the traffic. It's a complication when it happens at either the start of school or the conclusion of school. So we've had reports also of school bus violations, meaning those that do not stop for school buses. It should be noted that all vehicles must stop for a school bus with flashing red lights. And they don't proceed until the flashing lights have deactivated. And we were getting some offenses with that. We've had some officers write some individuals with citations. Just keep in mind that those citations are $255 for the first offense. And the second offense, if it's done within 2 years, is $1,000 and a 6-month suspension of a license. So serious issues that could cause harm to children. And traffic's been a huge issue. The only thing that we have less of is school police officers. I don't think anybody does more traffic enforcement in the school system or in the city than the Brockton School Police. We just need more officers. But I'd say that they conduct traffic more than anybody else. And now in terms of the school police themselves, all of them are certified in alert active shooter training. I'm sure everybody's probably seen the media. I had 8 instructors come in from all over the state, and all of the school police are certified. There's also, I believe, we also had Brockton Fire, and we had the city police also collaborate in that 2-day event. And all of the officers are certified in the alert training, which is the officer version of ALICE. Also, the school police officers, myself included, we attended a 2-day SRO refresher course mandated by the state. So we are, most everybody is SRO trained. And we plan on doing some training on Saturday with the drone unit, which I'm in charge of, along with the school police on the high school grounds. In terms of officers, I'd like to make a couple of notes of recognition. I received an email from Assistant Principal Creedon from the Hancock that Officer Astrid Silva was praised for his sensitivity and compassion. It was with regards to a child in need, and also to make sure that he was to be home in a safe environment when he's not in school. So I received an email, and I requested that to be placed in his personnel file, not only at the school department, but at the Brockton Police Department as well. Another note of recognition, Officers Tixera, and I believe Officer Mendez is here. They participated on their own time with the early college program, and if those that are familiar, that's a program where both high school students can participate and get college and high school credits simultaneously with the early college program. I got a letter from the professor over at Bridgewater State University commending them for having such great connections to juveniles, and also continue the spirit of community policing. So I want to praise those officers, and I asked for that letter to be placed in their personnel files as well, both at the police department and the school department. Now, if we go to special events, school events, the Brockton High Junior Prom was on Friday, May 2nd, as everyone is aware. The only issue that we had, and there was no real safety issue, but one student didn't get picked up. So school police officer Daniel Vaughn, who was back, he followed the bus with the sole student back to school property, along with Principal McCaskill. And the student was then properly picked up. So it was just a miscommunication where a student wasn't picked up. So no student is left behind. And over the weekend, there was the Color Run and Chalk Day road race, 5K road race. No issues with safety during that event. And a reminder that on the 29th of May, we have the Brockton Senior Prom. That's going to be held at Gillette Stadium. They have their own security, and then we will also provide police as well. And then, of course, we, last but not least, actually, I do want to mention, I'll mention after this, but our Public Safety Super Bowl is the Brockton High graduation. It's held on June 7th on Saturday. So we collaborate with numerous other partners. I know Captain Picaro and his traffic unit will be there. Brockton Fire will be there. Drone unit will be there. We cover the perimeter with the drone unit as well as in the parking lots. Also, we'll have, as I said, Brockton Fire, Brewster Ambulance. We have canines with different specialties. We'll be checking the properties before the event, and we'll be checking and overnight prior to and possibly further. We'll be making sure that the property is safe prior to any students or families getting on property at the stadium. We'll also have the cadets there as well. And a new thing is your department head, the IT department head, Joe Campbell, has installed license plate readers. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be operational. This may require authorization from the school department. It may also require authorization from the chief of police. And those license plate readers, they're installed at Belmont Street and Forest Ave, but they won't be operational until there's some policy issues, and it may need authorization, of course, from the superintendent and everybody here. That should be maybe for a public safety subcommittee, but I'd like to have that operational by the graduation. So that's going to be something to think about, and we'll provide information so you can overview it and then make a decision for that. Does that sound like that could work? And as part of that, that's, as I said, that's our Super Bowl of public safety, and a couple of issues that I want to straighten out for the public and for cable television is one of the things I noticed, and last year was my first graduation stadium ceremony. One of the issues was a bottleneck when it comes to the metal detectors. And the reason for the bottleneck is that even though the superintendent does send out a notification as to what you can or cannot bring to the graduation, this is for safety purposes, a lot of people still don't follow that. So without reading everything, you will be getting or families will be getting a sheet, a safety form. And there are prohibited items that will not be accepted at the gates. And the bottleneck is because people bring them to the gates and then they have to go back to the cars and then come back. That's been the big problem with why there's a bottleneck at the metal detectors. So no bags larger than a 12 by 12 by 12, and the contents of the bag are going to be inspected. And if there's a type of portable chair, we don't recommend it, but there may be certainly persons with accessibility issues that would be authorized. No tripods or monopods. No flag poles over 2 feet in length. That's a safety issue. No alcoholic beverages, no illegal drugs or substances. I think that's pretty straightforward. No umbrellas, no fireworks, pyrotechnics, flares, no laser pointers. No animals other than service dogs that assisting those with disabilities. No strollers or baby seats, segways, hoverboards, skateboards, rollerblades. No noisemakers, bullhorns, air horns, or otherwise. No helium balloons, no beach balls. And of course, stadium personnel reserve the right to deem any other item inappropriate. So, and then a big issue is that vehicle occupants prior to and also after need to remain in the car and be properly seated. We'll have officers that will observe any safety violations and act accordingly and take enforcement action if people are, let's say, hanging out of the vehicles. Sometimes we've seen that after the events are over. Also to note that admittance into the stadium will not be allowed until 9:30 a.m. So the actual ceremony begins at 11. If everybody complies with what I've listed, it should go off without a hitch, and people should be seated by that time. So with that, any questions?
Thank you, Lieutenant. Ms. Oliver.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge and truly appreciate all the work our school police is doing, and definitely to keep us safe. I do appreciate that you're stated for all the public to know the fine of passing when our buses are stopped. I see it every morning. It needs to stop. They really need to start. I know Brockton's become a little bit unsafe lately with the accidents, the amount of accidents. We just need to slow down and take in consideration that our kids are walking, crossing the street, and getting in the bus. We do not want to hurt our students, and adults need to be adults and drive slow. So I do appreciate that you finally put how much the fine is and what the penalties will be. And maybe people will take in consideration about passing when there's a van stop or bus stop picking up one of our students. Thank you. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Gomes?
Thank you. I would like to second everything Ms. Oliver just said, especially with the passing of school buses. I have witnessed one recently myself, and I was there, hey, kids are crossing the street. But I believe, I can say on behalf of everybody, we do appreciate all the work that you guys do as police officers, both for the city and the schools. I do have a question. I don't know if it's an appropriate conversation to this. I know you mentioned we do need more police officers. I don't know where we are as far as the hiring process. I know we had a group of individuals that had taken the test and the score came out and everything. Where are we?
So we have, I believe there are 3 more, it's budgeted for 3 more openings. So it's going to depend on what the chief wants to do in terms of how she wants to proceed. So in other words, there was a test, it was taken, there were scores, and it's up to the chief to decide exactly when what the next move is. There are, I believe, the budget. There's 3 more budgeted positions that need to be filled. So the sooner the better. We have 1 in the academy right now, but if you look at from beginning to end, and you're looking at background checks, you're looking at the physical fitness tryouts, and then you look at actually getting into the academy. We have 1 in the academy right now, and then subsequent to that 6-month academy, then you also have field training officer time, both at the city and also here at the school, until they become an actual officer that can be solely responsible for their own work. So it is a long process. The earlier the process begins, the better off we'll be, and the earliest that we can get more officers.
Thank you. And the one that is in the academy right now, is that from the list that we had?
That was from the prior list.
Prior list. So as far as the list that we currently have, none of those individuals have been called to say, hey, you scored this, we're going to extend an offer, or we're going to call you in to start following the process?
That is correct. There is nobody from that list that is currently in the academy or whatnot. So that process needs to begin.
So what is it that we are waiting for?
Well, we're waiting for the chief to actually commit to when that process will begin. So I have spoken to Captain Picara, who's my immediate supervisor, and recommended that that process be sped up, so we can have those 3 positions filled.
Is there anything on our side that we can do as far as speeding up anything?
Well, I've done what I can do. So I've contacted my superior to relay that to the chief. So in terms of what others can do, that would have to be up to your discretion.
Okay, thank you.
We can, I'll reach out to the chief, and she can come to the school committee and answer some questions from this body, because that's a major concern. I don't think this is the time to try to flex your authority with regards to public safety. I think she needs to realize that, because it's budgeted, and there's school employees, not city side. If this body, if we have to, we'll discuss this with legal counsel, if we have to go other avenues to do background checks, then I strongly support that, and hope this committee supports that. We have the state police, and there's many law enforcement agencies that do background, so public safety is a major concern for us, and thank you for the services, and we see the great work that our officers are doing. So I think she needs to realize that we're not here playing games of public safety. So whatever issue that she has, I'll request her presence to come to this committee, so to answer those questions. So any further one? Are you done? I'm sorry. Mrs. Azak.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I'm not going to echo what my colleagues already said. I totally agree with them. We appreciate everything our officers are doing. I love how our officers go beyond being just an officer. And that's what shows a lot about our department and why so many of our students are lucky to have our officers. So I commend the officers for going above and beyond. So we appreciate that. And so actually, I ran into someone the other day, and so did Mr. Rodriguez. This is a good time. There are a few schools, so I guess there's a department in the city where they go to different schools. We have a lot of parents that are picking up students at bus stops, but they're blocking the buses, they're blocking the sidewalks, they're blocking the road, the crosswalks. So it's a safety thing for our students if they can't safely cross. So we might just need to see those specific schools that they're going to and maybe send out a call from that specific school to all the parents, just as a reminder, you're picking up your students, don't block the crosswalks. And it's all about safety and abide by the road rules and, you know, let the buses do what they need to do. So I'm sure you're getting those calls because they are ticketing. They're out there, they're ticketing. They're approaching a lot of these vehicles. Some of these vehicles are actually getting these people are getting very aggressive. But again, they're just trying to do their job by keeping our students safe, getting off the buses. So,
And if I can comment,
Sure.
For instance, this school, the Arnone School, I get complaints that people are parked on the roadside, on the side, right by the intersection of Newberry Street, and I've had my officers ticket offenders. And it does make a difference, but then you do get repeats afterwards. So, in fact, the only complaints that I get about the school police officers is the fact that they're doing their job. So they're upset they're getting tickets. And as long as they're professional, and I can tell you that all of my officers at the school police maintain a high level of professionalism, then I don't have an issue with them citing anybody because they should be, the people should be cited if they don't follow the law. So I'd like to just add that. And we rotate our officers constantly and try to handle these situations like, for instance, Newberry Street here at this school. So we will continue to do that.
So this was a department with the city. I guess it's a van. They go out, I don't want to mention the employee's name, but they go out on a daily basis, specific times, and they go to the 4 schools that they get a lot of complaints at. And they are, these are not our officers. They're city employees. And they do try to keep it safe for the kids. So I'll follow up with the superintendent because this was just brought to my attention the other night as I was leaving Central. But
Okay.
it's definitely, no one should be giving our police officers, let alone a team that's with the city trying to keep the kids safe. If you have to ticket, you have to ticket. Safety first.
Correct.
Especially if they're blocking crosswalks or parking in the streets, and just it's a safety issue. But thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Thank you, Lieutenant, and thank you to the team and all the great work that they're doing there. So
I'll agree
Oh.
with that. Thank you.
one more question. This is something that we have to look into. So we did have a former resource officer that did have one of our dogs, Bonnie. She retired, so we have to address that. So I think that's going to probably fall in your lap, I'm assuming. And then also for further discussion, we did we had another dog, so just need an update of what is that officer doing with that dog, because we invested a lot of money into that dog, so we can put that for further discussion. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Next agenda item is announcements. Do we have any announcements by any school community? Mrs. Oliver and then Mrs. Azak.
Not much of an announcement, but I just wanted to take time to acknowledge 2 professionals like unsung heroes. This week is Teachers Appreciation Week, and I definitely want to thank all the Brockton educators out there that spends more time with our kids than we do at times, and they do an incredible job. Thank you for your effort and your patience with our kids, because some of our kids can be a little bit, difficult at times, but I definitely want to put out there that I am greatly blessed and appreciated for all the educators that has taken time to educate my kids and every student in the city. Also, another profession which I'm part of, it is Nurses Week this week, especially a school nurse. I was a school nurse for 7 years. I know exactly what they go through daily. They keep our kids safe. As a parent, we're able to send our kids to school, and nurses are there to make sure they're healthy, give them the medication daily, and also helping with the vaccine and everything else the state requires of them. So I'm definitely sending my love to all the school nurses in Brockton and all the educators in the city of Brockton. Thank you for all that you do year-round. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Azak.
Thank you. Miss Oliver beat me to it, so I wanted to acknowledge Teachers Week. But you know what? Every week is Teachers Week. So we appreciate them all year long, not just 1 week. And then I want to thank West Middle. West Middle sent out an invitation, and I know Miss Oliver was there, the superintendent was there, and the chief was there, Chief Perez, and it was Women Empowering Students of Tomorrow. So many don't realize this, but to have two women, one is our superintendent and one is our chief of police, both bringing, you know, listening to your story and then listening to the chief's story, it was heartfelt. I mean, I was in tears. And you have two women that are in powerful positions that our students can look up to. And that was just, it was a beautiful morning. I always love going there. There was alumni that was there that came back and they were telling their stories, where they are now. Sorry guys, I think it was only a women's event, but maybe
There's
next
one
year.
coming up next month for the guys at West as well, so.
It was a wonderful event, so I just wanted to acknowledge them and just seeing the students, and it was a beautiful morning. And the other thing is great, it was awesome seeing everyone for the junior prom. I saw a lot of photos online. I usually like to make the proms. I'll do my best to be at the senior prom. You guys laugh, it's fun. They're newbies. I like to go to the prom. If the superintendent, I've gone with Kathy Smith and Mike to the prom in years past. And you have your senior prom coming up. Have fun, stay safe, that's all I ask. It's an amazing time of year for our seniors. It's an amazing time of year for all of our students. But just stay safe. I know the good weather is out there. And I just wanted to acknowledge our seniors that are going to be going through a lot. And I would love for us to showcase whether they're moving on to college or if they're moving out into the working world. I love seeing where all our students are going. I mean, there was one student, we met her parents at the breakfast, I believe, MIT and Harvard. She had 2 offers. You know, yes, it's Brockton Public Schools, but, you know, we have some pretty amazing students that are going on to college, and a lot of very impressive colleges are offering them, you know, a space at their colleges. So, you know, and speaking of one of them used to be our school committee rep, my niece, who will be graduating, God willing, in a couple of weeks from Harvard. So, and she's a Brockton alum. So we have some really amazing kids, very, very amazing kids. So we're proud of them, and I'd love to see where everyone's going. Usually they do a video of all the different colleges, or if they're going out in the working world, let's showcase them, put something online. Let the kids do it. They're better at that, Instagram, than we are. But that was it. I just want to acknowledge everyone.
Thank you. We have a lot of events coming up, so it's a lot of committee members look at your calendars. You know, we have a lot of negotiations, but, you know, we get invited to a lot of stuff, and sometimes we can't make it. We had the Day on the Hill today, which is a great event. Last week I was at the State House with Counselor Moses Rodriguez advocating for more funds, even though we gotten a lot more funds coming our way this fiscal year, and the budget's going to indicate that. And, you know, I will be reserving some comments during our budget hearing, specifically with the deficit. I've always said it, and I will stand by it because it's in black and white. The city didn't bail out the school department. We've been bailing them out in the millions of dollars. So, and I will articulate that at our budget hearing because it's very sad what happened. And thank you for Dr. Tiliani for stepping up and wanting to come here because you inherited a mess. And every day you work very hard, and I see the hard work in all the members that meet with you. And I'm very proud that we have a superintendent that has a strong financial background that's moving the district in a positive direction. Thank you for that. Next is executive session, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategies with respect to collective bargaining and litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares, which I do. Litigation update, collective bargaining discussion, BEA, BESPA, Teamsters, IBAA, TEA. And can I get a motion to enter into executive session?
Motion to enter into executive session.
Second.
Motion was made by Ms. Azak, properly seconded by Ms. Oliver. This will be a roll call vote. Mrs. Oliver?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Gomes?
Yes.
Mr. Vega?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
And myself is a yes. We will not be returning. We will not be returning. And we are in executive session.